We're here at Ice Cap Campground here in Willamette National Forest here in Central Oregon. Let's go check out the campsites. We're here at the Ice Cap Campground infrastructure zone. I'll give you the lay of the land. When you first pull in, you've got a day use area straight ahead. It's $8 per day, and you've got a picnic site right beyond that, and then a fork that takes two more up into that forest zone, kind of your own little oasis in the middle of the forest. So you got a cluster of three over there of day use picnic sites, again $8 per day, first come, first serve. You keep coming down here, you can see there's the signage for the campground, and you start running into your camping sites. You got one right here, parking, and two right here next to you. And here is site one. Got your picnic table, fire pit, gorgeous section of Willamette National Forest, old growth forest. I will say, I'll give you a negative and a positive. Negative is you're right up against the day use area I just pointed out. So see that picnic table right there? You got potentially day use people staying right next to you, not a good breakage line of sight, and you got two more sites up there. So you got three day use picnic site people right next to you. That's suboptimal. So that's on the negative column. But on the positive column, you actually happen to have your own side trail access down to the Sahalie and Koosah Falls Loop, which is actually really high value. So that's a giant plus. See down here, you take that down and I don't know, maybe 100 feet, whatever it is, you actually link up to the main Sahalie and Koosah Falls loop that basically circumnavigates both the waterfalls and parallels National Wild and Scenic McKenzie River. So trade-off, your own trail access, but some ding in the privacy lines with your day use buddies over here. So that's interesting. That's site one. You can see right there's your lot lines for site two right next to you. Not great, not horrible, but not ideal. Like you definitely don't really have that much of a breakage. So if you take site one, then you are basically sacrificing a little bit of privacy for your premium access to Sahalie Koosah Falls Loop, which is a trade-off many people might be willing to take. Here's number two. Got your driveway. Number one is right next to you here. You can see the little sign for it. There's picnic table for one over there. Day use to the right of that. Here is site two. Good shade, picnic table, fire pit, very good shade. Nice swath of old growth Willamette National Forest, maples, alders, and Douglas fir. So let's come over here. As far as your privacy lines, you have one right there. I will also say you have three day use sites beyond that a bit. Those won't interfere with you or impact you much over here. You do have another one over there, but that's actually pretty good line of sight privacy blockage. So if you're over here, because of where all these picnic tables are, it's really not going to be an issue. So two is pretty good little section of forest. One had its own access to Sahalie Koosah Falls Loop. This one actually looks like it interfaces with that. So if you're staying here at site two, you got your picnic table, fire pit, your parking, you got your friends over at site one, you take this little side trail, it connects over to the side trail from one down to Sahalie Koosah Falls. So that's legit. So I'd say one and two have their own little side trails down to Sahalie Koosah Falls, which is the main draw of this area. So you want to be able to hike down there as part of your visit here. There's our friend over there, but as I said, it's pretty good privacy blockage, line of sight. So let's continue along. Do these in numerical order, sequential. Says keep right. We will hike it numerically as the car would drive. So this is going to be three. You got your driveway. I like to go just see the number on the sign. Sometimes it gets a little crazy. Okay, this is three. So we're parking here. I really like this section of forest. Let me stop here and just look up these massive towering trees and maples, alders, and Douglas fir. You got your picnic table, fire pit. Pretty nice. And pretty good line of sight breakage from two. Not really an issue. They're not really in your business. So kind of feels like it wants you to put your tent right here, but then you're shading closer to two. And if they stay up late at night, you'll be able to hear them talking from your tent. So a little suboptimal there, but Ooh, I will say probably the worst privacy line of sight ding is your friend's presumably 4 right there. So you're above them at least, but there's really no breakage. So if you're sitting at your picnic table, they're sitting at their picnic table, it's kind of suboptimal, we'll say. Let's come down here. Actually, if you could put your tent right here straight ahead, that would be better, because now you got the tree blockage for the sound muffling, give you a little better sense of privacy. Not really sure if there's any trail down there. I'm not sure if I see one, but 1 and 2 definitely had a side trail down to Sahalie Koosah Falls. So that's 3. Again, you got your friend, I believe 4 over there, and you got a restroom straight ahead. Interesting. Let's continue along. So that's the first 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And just for bearings, here's kind of our main signage for the campground. Here is site 4. Nice kind of shoulder parking, big enough for any vehicle. Beautiful section of Willamette National Forest. Big towering trees giving great shade. Picnic table, fire pit. And let's come down here. I don't know, I'm almost getting the impression there might be a side trail. Obviously, you put your tent right here. That's a no-brainer. So I will say one negative is you got 3 right there, right above you, overlooking you. As far as the lot lines, this is really the natural place to put your tent. Really the only place you can put your tent. Here's your picnic table, fire pit. Again, there's the signage for the campground. There's your main restroom in the area. You got another person over there. So this isn't the best privacy lines, but I did want to check out to see this little side trail system down to Sahalie and Koosah Falls Loop. And yes, it is, my friend. It's like they really did a good job giving you your own side access. So look at this. You can essentially go all the way down, and this will take you to the main trail. So every step I'm hearing the loudness of the river and the waterfall. So very cool. 4 has got its own trail access down. So I really like the way they did this, giving the campsites, at least on this side of the loop, their own access to Sahalie and Koosah Falls Loop, because that is your main draw from being here. So again, that's your main signage straight ahead. There's your restroom straight ahead. We'll turn around here. You can see straight is where you'd want to put your tent, kind of next to that big tree, to the right of that big tree. You can also see you got your friend up there as far as the picnic table. Let's continue along. So here is site 4, really good shade. Over here is site 5 for bearings. There's our signage. Here's our main restroom, bank of restrooms. Here is 5. You can access it there, but I'll come around to where you actually would park your vehicle. Yep, kind of a little bit of a bumpy parking right there, but most vehicles ought to be able to do that. So you park there in that kind of shoulder up against those stumps and come up here. This one does have a bit of a grandiose feel. I'm gonna stop and pan back and show you the epicosity of these trees. Got a picnic table and fire pit. Got your friend right there, presumably 6. So not the best lot lines with 6, but you are kind of on a little bit of an elevated section of forest. Picnic table, fire pit. Probably put my tent back here somewhere. I will point out, remember, you are overlooking your friend. So, but that's not too bad. You can put your tent there. You can put your tent, actually I'd probably put my tent right here, keeping it real, straight ahead where I stand. My tent was right here. You got the restrooms right there, picnic table, fire pit. You're kind of blocked from your friend 4. And ooh, look at that sun beaming through these trees. So yeah, right here is the perfect spot for the tent. It's a beautiful area. You do have your friend right there, but you do have a little bit of blockage. Let's come over here, see if there's any sort of access. It's pretty steep. Oh yeah, it's very steep. I wouldn't mess around down here too much. Look at that. Pretty darn steep. There might be access going down this, but I would not recommend doing that. That looks dangerous, sketchy AF. I would use the proper access points. Don't try to scale down a steep hill. That's just like an accident waiting to happen. Juice isn't worth the squeeze, so I would not do that personally. I would strongly recommend against doing that. Do everything at your own risk. Picnic table, fire pit, again, restroom. Let's move on to the next one. Here's your main campground, Forest Road. Here's 5, here is 6, the one we're on now. So we're parking right where I'm standing. Our picnic table, fire pit. We do have a pretty good line of sight breakage from 7, so that's not too bad. pretty good line of sight breakage from 5. So the line of sight breakages are decent. Well, I mean, like there's 7 right there. And if you come sit here, you're totally blocked. There's a tree literally right between you. So that's good. With 7 right here, I probably wouldn't shade on this side. Here's 6. I would probably put my tent somewhere around here in this zone. You do have 5 right there, but pretty good line of sight breakage with some trees, but it's not perfect. So this is the area I'd put my tent, kind of where I'm standing. You got the restroom right there. Once you get over to 5 and 6 and 7, you're kind of in this steep hill zone. So you lose your access to Sahalie and Koosah Falls Loop. There doesn't look to me to be any side access, and that looks very steep and dangerous. So I would not even attempt to go mess around. I just go to the main trail access point. Better safe than sorry. Don't try to take a shortcut and imperil your safety. That's not worth it. Juice isn't worth the squeeze. So again, picnic table, fire pit. There's our restroom. So here's campsite 7. You park here for bearings. Remember, you got 6 right there, 5. Here's our Forest Campground Road. There's our restroom. This is what I call a yellow brick road campsite, because you have to come down the yellow brick road a little bit to get to your actual picnic table and fire pit. Come over here, and lo and behold, our path takes us to our picnic table and fire pit. It sucks on the front end a little bit because you got to carry your gear farther, but it's rewarded because oftentimes it gives you a little bit more privacy at your actual site. It's a trade-off normally worth taking, so I like yellow brick road campsites. And there's 8 right there, but it's pretty obscured with some big old growth trees, so that's good design on their part. I'd probably put my tent somewhere over here, probably right there actually. We put my tent in this spot, and boom, your tent's right here. You got pretty good line of sight breakage to 6. You got pretty good, well, there's a little bit of an opening between these trees, but it is what it is. This is probably the natural spot, or right there, straight ahead, but you're getting closer to 8 the more you come this way. But a couple places you could put your tent for 7. Don't have access down to Sahalie Koosah Falls. This is a steep precipice, so one must be careful. Don't let your kids play on that side. So that's 7, a yellow brick road campsite where you have to kind of carry your stuff around a little corner. Interesting. Okay, so Ice Cap Campgrounds, interestingly designed. We have our first 7 classic car camping style designated campsites up to there. That's 7. Now we're entering a different section. It's the tent only model where you have a centralized parking. See all these parking spots with all these posts that have different campsite numbers? You park and you have to carry your gear. So this is the tent only side. Starting, it's 8 through 16 in the zone. So you park here, and we'll do 8 first. You have to carry your gear. The theory behind this is it's a little bit more work on the front end to carry all your stuff, but once you get set up, you get a little bit more privacy. So, and it also allows them to put more sites in a smaller area. So here is 8. So standing here at 8, it looks like a pretty big open epic section, but when you actually look over, you see you got 9 and 10 presumably right there. So you realize you're kind of sardined in here. So it allows them to put more sites clustered in a smaller area. This tent only, park and carry your gear thing. Sometimes at some campgrounds, it really actually makes it quite special if it's up against like a lake or river shoreline. But in this case, because you're kind of on the overlook above McKenzie River and Sahalie and Koosah Falls, you're not really getting any better nature. They just were able to cram more sites into a smaller area. So it's a little bit more claustrophobic consequently. So we'll walk each one of these just to be thorough. Here is site 9, and come back here. A little confusing how they've done this. So we're walking as if we're on 9. We see a sign for 10, and here's our sign for 9. So we're still on our 9 walk, our tent only. So that's 10 right there, and this is the same one I just showed you a minute ago from 8. This is 9. So walking around here. So you actually have to walk a pretty long distance as far as carrying your gear, and you don't really get anything out of it. I mean, here you are at 9. You don't really get any views. I mean, look over here. Like, sometimes this walk tent only is really gorgeous. As I said, if you're up against a lake or a river, and it's like it makes it more special. These are not that kind, because we just walked a bit, carried all of our gear here, and look how close 8 is. I mean, 8 is right on top of us. And then you can see 7 between those trees straight ahead. And then you've got 10 right there. So 9 is no bueno. You got 10 right there, 8 right there. Those are both right on top of you, and 7. Totally, literally triangulated at 9. So it's extra work to carry your gear for no yield. So not to be so negative, but keeping it real. 9, I think, is maybe the worst so far. I'm a car camper. Like, I bring my vehicle, my Jeep. So I would much rather be at any one of them, 1 through 7, than I would at 8 or 9 so far. It's just constellation camping. Here's 10. I'm not gonna walk all the way back and do it. You get the idea. Here's 10, and it's gonna be the exact same situation as 9. At least you're shaded more towards the forest. You got a fence over there, probably for protection, erosion. So here's 10's picnic table. 10's main problem, you can see the little 10 there on it, is that 9's right there. So 9 and 10, hello my new best friend, pretty close. For me, that's a deal breaker. That's far too close. Not digging it, keeping it real. I see, is this a trail system or is it just kind of the end of the line? It's probably just the end of the line. But yeah, I would not try to go down there. That looks really dangerous. So yeah, this whole area is on a bluff, like it's on an overlook. So you're not really getting anything by coming over here. I mean, you're getting a good shade. You're getting some really high quality old growth national forest. I guess you could probably put your tent down here, somewhere over here, shade away from 9, gives you more privacy. Like there's a flat area there, maybe a flat area there, but don't get too close to the edge. So there's a couple different places over here at 10 where you can kind of shade away from 9, give yourself more of a sense of largesse privacy. But that said, even though I sometimes like the tent only park and carry your gear model, I'm not really seeing any benefit of it the way they've designed it here for 8, 9, and 10. They just were able to utilize this space more effectively as far as packing in the campsites. So we're gonna go back and keep going through. Okay, so here's 11, part of our tent only park and walk design. I'm gonna wager it's the one straight ahead. My first time here, so I'm just figuring this out as I go. Kind of a big divide between 10 over there. This whole area is kind of underutilized. This middle section doesn't have any campsites in it. It's interesting. I'm surprised they didn't plop one there, but maybe they realized the privacy lines would be too atrocious. So here is 11. So now this one, I'm digging. At least you're up against some water. And I will also say, unfortunately, you got your friends, just as I'm starting to get excited, you got your friend right there. So that's not the best privacy lines. But so this one, you got your picnic table, you got your fire pit, you got a fence there to protect you. You got a sign that says dangerous cliffs. So they are very well aware of the potential danger. So I would absolutely stay behind the fence, heed what they say. But you got kind of the reservoirs right over here near the edge of McKenzie River, Sahalie Koosah Falls Loop. So probably the only downside over here is you do have your friend right there, presumably 13. But as far as these park and walk, 8, 9, and 10, I didn't think were any great shakes, but 11 is actually pretty good. I gotta say, I'll say 11's pretty good. 11's probably worth it. Come over here, you can come down here with your chairs, put your tent over here somewhere, and you can just kind of hang out. I will say, I do believe that up against this fence is a trail, it looks like, so you could have people walking by here. So I'd have to check the map, but that looks like a trail to me. So that's a little bit of a privacy ding. You do have a row over here, so a lot of times the campground giveth, the campground taketh away. So like this gives you the walk and tent only camp. So it's like, oh cool, I'm up against the reservoir, I got a view, but then I'm also in a bay of other people and I got a little bit of a trail here. So I've given up some of my privacy for the benefit of overlooking the reservoir. So that's the way life works, my friend. This is definitely the best so far of these 8 through 16. I'm on 11. I haven't done 12 through 16, but this is the best of the first 4. You got views of the reservoir, a sign warning you of the dangerous cliffs, so stay on the side of the fence. That is a wise precaution. Picnic table, fire pit. Downside is you do have your friends right here. Another campsite, so it doesn't have the best privacy lines. I think I know which one is 12 just because I know where 11 is, so I'll walk this way. When you first get here, sometimes just getting your bearings and understanding where to go can be a little confusing. That one's 11, so 12's got to be this one. So not a direct path, but see, there's your pillar. So they did at least put the pillars there, which is helpful. So here's 12. This is a lot like 11. You got views of the reservoir. You got a fence, stay on the side of the fence for safety. Picnic table, fire pit, situate your chairs and overlook the reservoir. The bird likes it. Let me go over here. See, yeah, there's 11. So not the best sight lines for 12. Beautiful section of old growth Willamette National Forest. Give it props for that. Got a lot of stumps for tables or seats, however you want to utilize them. Now it looks to me, could be wrong, that this is trail on this side of the fence. Doesn't it look trailish? Come over here. Yeah, doesn't this feel like a trail right here? I mean, this absolutely feels like a trail to me. I think this is a trail. So you do have a trail right here, and then lo and behold, there's your picnic table for 12. And look, I'm on the trail. So lose the privacy lines, the sense of privacy from the trail, and you're right next to 11. But you do have views of the reservoir down below, and that is quite gorgeous. The color of that green is unreal, so that is gorgeous. I personally would not cross the fence and come down this little section. Right there looks like a steep drop cliff to your death, and I don't think that's going to be worth it. So stay on the side of the fence. Do not hop the fence. Just you get as good of a view as you're going to get from right here, so don't be cute. Maybe that's the bird that was welcoming me to the area earlier. So that's 12. Beautiful section of forest overlooking the reservoir, but not the best privacy lines with the trail and our close friend, our trusty friend 11 right there. So that's the 12 experience. I think that right there is probably going to be 13. So also you have a direct line of sight if I'm sitting at the picnic table right now. Got our close friend 13 right there. But you do have the reservoir. You can situate your chairs over here somewhere and see you do get views of the reservoir on that side. I kept focusing on the left, but that's pretty right there. I mean, you get some water views. So that's legit. So I'd say 11 and 12 are interesting. We'll go do 13 and 14 next. So now we're exploring the area for site 13, and lo and behold, I see the sign for 13 straight ahead. So this is 13, a beautiful section of forest. I mean, this is gorgeous, this is ridiculous. Loving the old growth Willamette National Forest. Picnic table, fire pit, and as far as privacy lot lines, you got 12 over there, but that's actually not that bad. So 13 is pretty cool, actually, I gotta say. Picnic table, fire pit. Probably put your tent over here. Actually, I feel like right here, straight ahead, is like the perfect flat spot to put a tent. So I would put a tent right where I'm standing. This is my tent location. Look back over at picnic table. So pluses and minuses. This one actually feels a little bit more private than 11 and 12 did, but you don't have as good of a view of the reservoir. I will also add that this is like a trail up against this fence. So see right here, clearly a trail. So somebody on this trail is literally walking right by you at 13. So that's a little suboptimal, like I'm walking on the trail right now. So walking on the trail, look over, hey there 13, how you doing? And then same is true for 11 and 12 down the way. So I'd say the trail is rough if you're just looking for a real privacy oasis. So 13, you could argue, is better than 11 and 12 in some ways. Looking down on the reservoir over there. So 13, I like the layout of it. It's got a gorgeous section of forest, a good couple places you can put your tent, but it doesn't have the overlook that 11 and 12 do of the reservoir. And it has even more privacy exposure to this trail on this side of the fence. So I don't know, 11, 12, 13 are like, I want to love them, but you know, you're getting some reservoir access, but they're also not much privacy lines. I don't know, I don't feel like any of them are like dream sites. I feel like they're serviceable. It's an interesting concept. 11, 12, 13, I'm not like in love with it. I'm not like a super fan. I'm not walking away saying, oh man, you got to go to Ice Cap Campground and stay at 11, 12, or 13. It's next level. Not quite reaching that, but it's also interesting. Okay, so here's 14. Come around here, step over this log. This one's kind of interesting and weird and eclectic. Either you dig it or you don't. You've got I'll call it's kind of like a cabin foundation. Like you put your tent, I guess, on that, which, you know, maybe that's warmer. I don't know. I also feel like it could be a safety hazard because if you forget there's a drop off and you get out of your tent in the middle of the night to go pee and you step and fall, you can take a header. So got to be mindful of these things. Picnic table, fire pit. What I don't like about this is look how close it is to this general parking for this tent only walk and park area. So you got people, this area will be full of cars in the middle of the season. So you got a little parking lot like 25, 30 feet away from your picnic table, fire pit, and tent. And you're gonna hear people going back to the car to grab something they forgot and door slamming, people talking. So to me, this is like maybe the worst site here. I would not take 14 unless you just love the concept of this, I'm gonna call cabin foundation to put your tent on, so you're a little elevated. That's maybe kind of the only cool thing about this one. I would not take that trade-off to be right next to the parking lot. So 14 is a deal breaker for me, but you do you. So that's 14 right there with that cabin style foundation. And then you go past that over here to 15. It's a little confusing how this is designed, so hopefully this is helpful. It's not self-evident, it's not intuitive. You just kind of got to walk around and figure it out. Here's 15, picnic table, fire pit. It's down here a little bit. Again, that right there is 14, I do believe, straight ahead. Here's our signage. We know this is 15 from the sign. What I don't like about it, again, picnic table, fire pit, is you do have this fence with this trail in front of the fence that goes right by, meanders right around your site. You do have what I do believe is 16 right there. So that's not the best line of sight breakage. Come over here, you're sitting at 15. Hello, 16, you're like basically staring at 16. So between 16 right there, and then you do have this trail snaking around your site in front of the fence, and then you have 13 over there. So I don't know, I'm not really the biggest fan. I'm not really sure what you get by being here at 15. You're kind of surrounded here in the middle of the forest. You got 16 there, 14 there, like 13 there. You got this fence with the trail meandering right around your entire site, and you don't really get any view or payoff for kind of being completely surrounded, kind of being landlocked. So I don't see any benefit. I wouldn't do 15, keeping it real. So far out of these tent only, 11, 12, and 13 are definitely the best three. I think the one straight ahead, I believe that's 14. That I think is by far the worst because it's right next to the main parking for this zone. And that's horrible. So I would not do 14. 15, I didn't see anything special about. I wouldn't do 15 either. Here is site 16. You park here. There's a path to 15 to your right, but this is the domain of 16. So coming up here, got some beautiful sun coming out, beautiful Willamette National Forest. Nice, big and open, picnic table, fire pit. You got a stump. The other side of it's pretty cool. Probably my biggest complaints about 16 are that you got 15 right there. No line of sight breakage. And you have presumably 17 right there. So you are right in the bank of 3, in the middle of the 3, and there's no line of sight breakage. So terrible privacy. You see the fence, in front of the fence is a trail. So you got people walking by. So you got 2 privacy violations, hikers and your 2 neighbors. And I don't see any upside. Like you're in the middle of a, granted, beautiful section of Willamette National Forest, but I don't know, not feeling it. I wouldn't do 16 personally. Different strokes, different folks. Depends what you prioritize, but looking back, like, I mean, it's a pretty section of forest. Let me capture the sun beaming through these trees. Like, it's a pretty section of forest. So if you just want to be in this Sahalie Koosah Fall zone, 16 is serviceable, but the site itself with 2 sites right next to it and a trail going by it is not idyllic. There's our restroom. There's one central restroom hub for this campground, Ice Cap Campground, which is right there. And here's 17. You got your parking straight ahead. You do have your water pump between 7 and 18. That's good to know. There's the garbage right there. So logistics are great. So let me show you this again. From 17, you got your restroom there. You got your trash there. You got your water pump between 7 and 18. So good infrastructure. You got your parking coming down to 17. Beautiful section of Old Growth National Forest, Willamette National Forest. Picnic table, fire pit, I can already tell you good shade. So this is well shaded. Good for dead of summer. Now getting to the negative side, you got 16 right there. And there is no breakage in your line of sight. So that's, to me, because I'm a privacy zealot, I like a secluded private experience. For me, this would be a deal breaker. It's serviceable, would work. If you need a base camp to be in the area, hey, this is serviceable. But if you're looking for like a dream campsite, if you're the type of person that likes to spend like a day sitting at the campsite, luxuriating, then this is not the site I would pick. But if you just want, you know, 3 squares and a cot mentality, this absolutely works. Getting picnic table, fire pit, and then that 16 next to you. I will say, you see that fence right there? That's kind of a hiking trail right in front of it. You'll have people walking there. So secondary privacy ding. At least it doesn't look like there's an issue on this side. So I'd say 17 is better than 16 because 16 is between 17 and 15. You can see 15 straight ahead. That is the picnic table between those trees to the right of the stump. All right, let's move on to the next one. So that was 17. And we have our water pump between 17 and 18. Again, we have our communal restrooms well positioned at the center of the campground. So there's only one bank of restrooms. Pretty nice water pump. Here's our parking for 18. Our picnic table, fire pit, gorgeous old growth national forest, trees, capture the sun, beaming through old growth wonderland. And come over here. This seems a little bit better than 15, 16, 17 were. Picnic table, fire pit. You do have 17 over there, but there's some breakage line of sight, so much better. And you can shade your tent over here a little bit to give yourself more privacy, like straight ahead from where I'm standing. Come over here. This is a trail right there, kind of going by. That's the same one that goes by the perimeter of the fence. You can see the rivers down there. So beautiful section of forest. So I like 18 better than 17, 16, 15, 14 over there. It's got better privacy lines, bigger section of forest, could shade your tent in a spot that you feel a little bit more private. There is the trail kind of on the other side, but you can avoid that a little bit better with better lot lines. So I think 18 is better than 17, 16, 15, 14 that way. 18 is probably the best on this side so far. Good parking. And then you got the restroom right there. Close enough is convenient, but not so close that it's that annoying. You got the water pump between 17 and 18. So 18 is the best in that backside of the campground so far. Here is 19. You can see the picnic table, fire pit. Here's your parking. For bearings, that's the direction of 18, 17, etc. Here's we're back to the beginning of the campground. And right here is actually the signage. Right there's 4. So we're finishing our loop. We're down in the last few. This is 19. So here's 19. You park here. I got to capture this sun. Look at that. Beaming through this old growth forest wonderland. Big swath of forest. Again, picnic table, fire pit straight ahead. A lot of places you can put your tent. I might put my tent over here to shade it this way. You do have your neighbor right there, 20. So I'd probably put my tent over here. Great shade, beautiful section of Willamette National Forest. And like imagine if your tent's right here, then you're kind of shaded away from your friend 20 over there. So 19 is pretty good actually. Got a big open space. If you're claustrophobic, this is a good one to pick because you will feel the openness. If you're agoraphobic, I would not pick this one. So there's the view of the forest below, and you got 20 over there. So 19 is kind of right in the middle of a pretty epic section. Let me pan back and just show you the monstrosity of these trees. I like 19. 19 is not bad. Probably the biggest strikes against it are it's right back across from 4 at the beginning. So straight ahead is the main sign for the campground. So you're kind of in the middle of the action right at the beginning of the campground. And you do have 20 over there, but it's very well spaced, very big and spacious, high square footage campsite. So 19 and 18 are actually pretty good. This is an unusually designed campground because normally I would assume all the best ones would be on the riverside, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but those are all a little bit more crammed together. There's 20, by the way, just for bearings. There's 19. I actually thought that 18 and 19 were 2 of the bigger, more spacious ones. And we are continuing along. So here is 20. You can see that's the tent for 19. Here's our main campground infrastructure with the sign. So we are on the back of the loop, so we're like almost done. This is the parking. Here's a little primrose path to our tent. and our picnic table and our fire pit. Let's come over here. I like this little Dr. Seuss tree right here. This is kind of cool. Glad they didn't cut that down. That kind of adds a little character to it. Picnic table, fire pit. Feels like we're supposed to put our tent right here just by the flatness and really probably the main place you could put it. I'd probably put my tent right here. You got your picnic table, fire pit. You do have 19 down there, but there is giant trees kind of in your line of sight blockage, so that's good. So 19's down there, but it's pretty well spaced with 20, so that's not a deal breaker. 20's decent. As I said, it's got the Dr. Seuss tree, kind of cute. If you got a little kiddo, they'd probably get a kick out of this tree. That alone could make the whole trip for them. Your picnic table and fire pit. Beautiful section of old growth national forest. You've got, I believe, Ice Cap Creek down there. Namesake for Ice Cap Campground. Show you the epicosity of the forest. So that's 20. Interesting. Here is 21. Got this kind of shoulder parking. This is interesting. If you're like a Swiss Family Robinson treehouse fan, you'll like this one. So you go down some well manicured steps. They put some love into this to build this out. Come down here, watching my footing because it is slick. And look at this. It's actually kind of cool. I'm digging this. I didn't realize this was down here. Picnic table, fire pit. It's a pleasant little surprise down here. It's pretty flat. A couple places you can put your tent very easily. You're below the main campground road, which is up there, so that'll muffle the sound and give you a little bit better privacy. Again, picnic table, fire pit. And lo and behold, looks like we're gonna have our own little side creek access to Ice Cap Creek, namesake for Ice Cap Campground. Not a coincidence. And come down here. Yeah, this is legit. You know, whatever this is, 30, 50 feet, and bam, you're hanging out at Ice Cap Creek. Look at that. And look at this tree is cool. And look at that. Oh man, this is magical. I am digging this. This is beautiful. As we look at Ice Cap Creek and pan up there, don't sleep on Site 21 because this is the only one that had, it's like your private access point to Ice Cap Creek. It's kind of down here, Swiss Family Robinson treehouse style below the forest road, which is up there. That's the forest road. And here's your picnic table fire pit. And you got your own kind of little creek wonderland zone. So I actually think 21's a hidden gem kind of beneath the forest road. I don't think anybody even knows you're down here. It's just kind of hidden off the beaten path. Go back up these steps, these stone steps that they've meticulously carved into the forest, which I am a fan of. Back up here. Okay, so final thoughts of Ice Cap Campground. I've walked every site. Kind of an interesting eclectic campground here at Willamette National Forest, Central Oregon. You have your side up against McKenzie River, Sahalie and Koosah Falls Loop. If you're focused entirely on access to that, you'll want to do 2, 3, or 4. They'll have side trails down to the main Sahalie Koosah Falls Loop. So if you're looking for a proximity play, do 2, 3, or 4. If you're looking for a tent-only park and walk in, I would do 11, 12, or 13. They're not like epic. I'm not giving them like a strong recommendation. They overlook a reservoir, but they have some privacy dings and they're not incredibly well spaced out amongst each other. So it's an interesting play. Not what I would consider to be one of the best campsites, you know, in this area by any stretch, but you know, worth going to, I'd say. So 11, 12, 13 are a little bit more eclectic, tent only park and walk. And then if you're looking for just like a big swath of forest, ironically, the left side here, the back half of the campground, which is normally in most cases the worst half, 18 and 19 were pretty well spaced. I was impressed. And I think also maybe the hidden gem of the whole one, kind of a weird eclectic one I wasn't expecting, is Site 21. It's got that Swiss Family Robinson vibe, treehouse vibe, where you go down some well manicured stone steps and you're kind of underneath the forest campground road, and then you have your own swath of shoreline of Ice Cap Creek entirely to yourself, the domain of Campsite 21. And I actually thought that was kind of special. So my takeaway is I think Site 21 is probably the hidden gem here. You can still use that as a base camp to explore Sahalie and Koosah Falls, but then come back up to your site and kind of have your own little creek shoreline private experience. So that's Ice Cap Campground. Keeping it real, I don't know if I would say this is like one of the best campgrounds in the entire Central Oregon zone. I think that'd be an overstatement. It's not horrible, but it's also not like best. It's like mid-tier, a couple interesting plays. But I will say that this Sahalie Koosah Falls area is world-class. It's one of the best waterfall hikes in the entire state of Oregon. And depending on where you're coming from, if you need to be able to stay the night in order to come explore it, if you're coming from the Portland area and it's just not viable to come here on a day trip, then Ice Cap Campground is absolutely serviceable. And again, 2, 3, or 4 for proximity, 11, 12, 13 if you want to overlook a reservoir, 21 if you want your own private creek shoreline experience. So overall, I would say I do recommend Ice Cap Campground overall as a worthy destination. Come here and explore Sahalie and Koosah Falls. We have a couple day use sites adjacent to it. Let's take a look here. It says attention users, day use fee $8 per vehicle. Here's your parking. Let's go take a look at the actual day use sites. Here's our first one. You can see a picnic table, fire pit to the right of it. Walk over here and take a look. I'll stop right here and check out. We've got a couple more down the line. You got one over there and one over there. So here's the first one. So if you pay your $8 and take over this picnic site for the day, see what you get. It's like there's a trail up there. I think that might be a picnic table up there. Also a trail down there towards the falls. First we'll take this trail. This is my first time here, so I am getting my bearings and learning the lay of the land. So we're in our day use picnic site spot. Looks like you can keep walking that way, but we're checking out the maze here. So here's a picnic site, picnic table, fire pit. Not the best one because you're kind of more overlooking the parking, kind of getting a little bit away from the river and the waterfalls, although it's got pretty good privacy. See what happens if we keep going this way. This is going to get us to yet another day use picnic site, and yes, it does. Come up here and you have yet another day use picnic site. Love the log on the other side of that. That kind of creates a nice boundary. This is cool. Picnic table, fire pit. So I'll walk over here, check this out. I really like this log for some reason. It draws my eyes, my attention immediately. Kind of some nondescript forest back there, so it's kind of the end of the line as far as your picnic site. Here's your picnic table. So pretty good privacy. I mean, you're in this little forest nook, far enough away that if you brought your party up here, you kind of feel like you had your own little site. So when you first park in that main area, you've got a split in the little side trail system that brings you up to 2 separate picnic sites. So we just walked both of them. So we're finishing the first one. Remember, there was the other one. Out of these two, I like the one I just walked away from because it's a little bit more private. So let's come back down and we'll hang a right here and see where that takes us if it gets us close to the river / waterfalls. Now, if you're staying here, or I guess any of these three, you want to get a little river waterfall action, and why wouldn't you? Then let's come down here, see what this yields you. Now this appears to me just to be a side trail from this day use picnic zone of adjacent to Ice Cap Campground. This is not like the main trail by any stretch because the trail doesn't walk you through those picnic sites. It requires a little sure footing. It's a little meandering through some low-hanging trees, etc. But so far nothing too crazy. And I'm digging this actually. This is a nice little side trail. I didn't know this was over here. I've done the hike down there. Look at that. That's pretty beautiful. I've done the hike down there, and I did not know that there was this side trail system connected to these day use picnic sites. In fact, I think this might be linking us to the back of the Koosah Falls waterfall zone. Watch my foot in here. And this is pretty cool, actually. I mean, that's pretty darn steep down there. You see right down here, that is the main trail, like if you're doing this proper. But this is a little side trail access point from our picnic sites adjacent to Ice Cap Campground. I actually didn't know that this was part of the access right here. This is pretty cool. See, again, here's our trail. Down there is McKenzie River. This is a little gnarly. I will carefully take this. Made that. Definitely a weird section. I mean, look at that. That's pretty beautiful. Oh, that river. And here's our actual access point. This looks pretty steep. See right here. This is kind of crazy, actually. This is fun for the intrepid adventurer. I think right up here is actually one of the best lookouts of Koosah Falls. Okay, so we are now on the official trail, and this is the direction I want to come because I see this lookout. I've done this hike before, so I instantly recognize what this was. Let's walk over here, and look at this, my friend. A gorgeous little stair step. We'll take these. And I think you're starting to see what is at the edge of this lookout, the absolutely beautiful, incredible Koosah Falls. Look at that, my friend. Absolutely spectacular. Oh, that is gorgeous. You can see some turquoise in that waterfall coming down. Very cool that you can access this waterfall lookout point right here with these steps directly from the Ice Cap Campground day use area and campground proper. So let's head on back. There's a whole overlook zone where you can check it out more thoroughly. Here's our little trail sign. Now, if you're just doing the normal hike, you would just say straight. Obviously, that's the main trail. But over here to the left, that's actually a little side trail, very steep, that takes you all the way up to the day use area. So we will take this. And look at this little hack here. You got the main trail down there, but oh my gosh, you got this upper trail, and we're gonna keep taking this. This is gonna take us all the way up to the Ice Cap Campground. This exact interface will actually take us to the Ice Cap day use area, which is adjacent to the campground. So let's keep going. It's a cool little hack. I didn't even know this was up here until I approached it from the day use side. And we're just coming along. And we're almost there. We are mere seconds away from picnic table magic. This isn't anything too crazy. Most able-bodied people ought to be able to do it. You do gotta watch your footing and practice situational awareness. But for your typical wilderness adventure, it's nothing too crazy. And look at this. We are at the day use picnic site zone.